Hi, everyone. My name is Michael. Great to see everybody. I am joined today with Carolyn and our special guest, dreamer and doer, that you probably recognize. If you're out of state, maybe not, but we'll introduce him in just a moment. Welcome to our 31st episode now of Link Up with Loveworks. And it's at Loveworks that we believe that we've created a place where the dreams can come true of our students, that we believe that you are never too young to be a dreamer and you are never too old to get started on your dream.
That's right. And each week, our special guest, we hope, will connect with you wherever you find yourself today. And they're going to inspire you to become the best version of yourself for tomorrow.
And I wouldn't say we normally have a theme, in each of our interviews, Carolyn, but because of our summer link camp that we had at Loveworks, and this particular day, our theme was business, entrepreneurship, and the grind. And those of you that are watching, something that you may not know is that we have several programs that are part of Loveworks. And one of those is a business and entrepreneurship component. And over the past 4 years, our organization has had the opportunity to help students start 2 for-profit entities where their products now are available across the state of Oklahoma and even online, and I'll chat about one of them, and maybe we'll tag team this effort. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Business coach?
Oh, yeah. I'm in my business boot-up gear today.
You definitely, you'll have to give us a sneak preview of just what that is. But let's talk about one of them, and it was our first, and it's called Real Kitchen Salsa. And that was an effort that started now about 4 years ago, and it was part of a project-based learning opportunity where we had the opportunity, our organization, to link up, and that's how we do the things that we do. It's just our incredible collaborations and partnerships that we have with professionals in our community. And one of those was a chef and a former business owner who had retired and began working with our students that perfected a salsa recipe. Now, salsa, think fresh salsa, chips and salsa. I think my Michigan accent could come out, so you might think that I'm talking about salsa dancing. Not salsa dancing, but think eating salsa. And they started selling it at farmers markets, our local farmers market, and they sold out typically every single Saturday. And then one of our students just said, casually, she said the statement casually, but I believe it was a dream. And she said, well, what if one day our salsa was sold in grocery stores? And our group of students set up a meeting with a local grocer here in our community. And on April 1st, not an April Fool's joke, but we actually sold our first jar of salsa in a grocery store. And now it's located in over 10 stores across the Oklahoma City metro area. They've worked on a new recipe, and their shelf stable will be available now online and nationwide, which is pretty exciting.
That is super duper exciting.
We should have some here in the studio, but
I don't think food's allowed right now.
Probably not now. Okay. And we have. Can you talk about our other?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just right now. It's about the 2-year anniversary of our second student business that started called Wrist World. And right now, very popular, of course, is augmented reality, virtual reality. And these students actually got their hands on this technology 2 years ago and decided that they were going to build a game. It was actually born out of a summer leadership camp at Loveworks. And so, in combination with Trifecta Communications, it's a really awesome tech group in Oklahoma City. They actually helped our students start a real business where they designed a video game that literally lives on your wrist. Blows my mind. They can definitely explain it much more technically than I can, but it's a wristband, a slap wristband, because the 90s are alive again. And it's a video game that they coded, they designed, wrote the story of, and it's on your wrist. You actually scan the target image on the wristband with your phone. And so it has 4 different levels to it, and you can actually purchase their product at any on-queue in the Oklahoma City metro.
Wow. I would imagine our special guest today, dreamer and doer, Adrian Buendia, may have been at that summer camp where that technology company was born. But we'll get into that in just a minute. So if you're curious just more about Loveworks or the businesses we just talked about, check out our website at loveworksleadership.org, and you can see all things business and fun right over there. Those of you that are watching, if you have a future guest that you think would just be a great fit for what we do, the work we do, working with middle school and high school students, please drop a comment in the comment box. And you just never know. We might have that future dreamer and doer on Link Up.
While you're commenting who that future dreamer and doer is, go ahead and also write your name, your age, where you're from, because it's roll call time, and we have a fun question of the day, and it is, what's your favorite snow cone flavor?
Oh, me.
Yes, Michael.
What is there a rainbow? Is there a rainbow
There
flavor?
is a rainbow flavor.
There is. Okay, all right. I would say that or anything cherry, but there must be salt. I'm all about, and not a lot. My wife knows, Sayla knows this. I don't like a lot of condiments on anything that you know this too, but just a little sprinkle of salt on top is wonderful.
Wow, I haven't tried that on a snow cone.
Oh, we got to. Maybe today. We'll head over to this place I heard called Eskimo Sno.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. How about you, Carolyn?
I'm all about green apple, but you have to add the caramel drizzle, so it's like a caramel apple. That's my favorite.
Okay.
That's the top one for me.
All right. I hope we made you thirsty out there. We'll tell you where you can go to get that special drink in just a minute. Well, we want to explain to you just the format of Link Up with Loveworks. We call this Dreamer and Doer, and this is an opportunity that we sit down and we have a candid conversation about a guest, at least one of their dreams. It's going to be hard with this particular guest because there's multiple, but we'll focus on at least one. And of course, something that comes along with the territory. If you're really serious about going after your dream and pursuing it, or like our former guest, Chris Capehart said, taking steps towards your dream, there are definitely going to be some challenges, hurdles, and obstacles that are to come along the way. And we don't want you to be scared by them, but we want you to be encouraged to press through them and to not give up and to not quit and know that it is achievable.
For sure. Is it time to meet our dreamer and doer?
I think we have one more trivia question.
Oh, you're right. We have a trivia question to warm you up today, and this all does have to do with our special guest, and it is about a snow cone. So today's trivia question is: what is tiger blood snow cone flavoring made up of? Ooh. So drop it in the comment box if you know.
I'm glad I have some answers over here. I don't know if I would have got each flavor correctly. But yeah, drop that comment in the comment box. I know you are ready. If you're from Oklahoma, you recognize this guy. You're like, let's just get the party started. We're going to get it started. Those of you who don't know him, you're going to meet him now. Let's meet Dreamer and Doer, Adrian Buendia.
Adrian Buendia has been an entrepreneur here in the city of Norman after he graduated from the University of Oklahoma in 2000 with a degree in communication. He attended the law school at OU for 1 year before he decided it wasn't quite right for him, and he bought Eskimo Sno in 2002 after working there for 2 summers. While also being a snow cone connoisseur, Adrian has always had a passion for music and entertaining others. He started DJing in the late 90s as a hobby and eventually grew the DJing business into a full-fledged production company in the new few years with multiple DJs, photobooths, lighting, sound, AV, and production. In addition to that, he is totally a staple at OU Athletics, and he just started a new business called Beanstalk Coffee and Snow.
Hello, Adrian.
Hello, Michael and Carolyn and everybody out there. Thanks for having me. And great job on the bio. I didn't even get you guys a bio, and you nailed it. That was awesome.
Would you like to borrow it?
Yes, that's great.
So, Adrian, I was just sweating over here hearing the stuff that you are involved in. How many times did you say "and"?
I can't count.
Multiple times in the bio. So I'm not exaggerating, but you are the only guy, and I don't want to use the word busy, but you are certainly active. And you're everywhere. I'm certain that there are 2 or 3 Adrian Buendias that live around Norman, Oklahoma. But you're the only guy that I know that could, around 9 a.m. in the morning, could be working a chocolate festival. You could then be the guy that's the voice or playing music, doing something at a University of Oklahoma football game. And then later that evening, you are working the daddy-daughter dance over at the Embassy Suites. Is that an exaggeration?
No, we stay pretty busy throughout the year. Norman's been a blessing to me and my family to give us opportunities to be able to provide for our family and be out in the community and just do the things that we like to do and love and just get out there and entertain people. So it's been fun so far.
And I know I focused on the things that you do, but you could also be seen on a sidewalk. And those of you that watch Link Up with Loveworks know that I train, so I do jogging and running, and I may be out on the sidewalk, and I see you that are with your kiddos, and you are pushing them, with a stroller or nudging them, down the sidewalk to get over to your new business, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So we really appreciate you being on today.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
So you have accomplished a ton, but bring us back. So let us know, because we've got some middle school students out there. Let us know what was it like for you to grow up?
So I grew up in small town Oklahoma. It's Wowoka, population of about 25 to 3,000 people. It's a Class 2A school. I graduated with only 50 kids in my high school. But luckily, my parents, they are both immigrants from the Philippines. So we were first generation born here, me and my brother and my older sister. And they luckily came over to the United States, and they met in medical school in the Philippines and wanted to move to America to have a better life. And then luckily, they decided to move to Oklahoma. So they needed 2 doctors in our hometown. It was the start of the Indian Health Service. So there was an Indian clinic that opened up, and my parents worked there. And so we ended up growing up here, born and raised in Oklahoma. And it's a small town. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows what's going on. If you get in trouble or you do something, the whole town knows about it. So it was great growing up in that small town atmosphere. We were the only Asian family in our entire town, but Wowoka was very diverse. So we got to do a lot of things, live a great childhood, grow up playing high school football, grew up doing student council, science fairs, in the band, playing sports. So we had lots of opportunities just because it's a small town. And then after high school, we moved to Norman, came to the University of Oklahoma. My parents actually moved to Norman with me, so we kind of moved as a family. Brother and sister were already in Norman, attending OU. So once we got to OU, was real involved in college, wanted to do every single activity, every single club. I just love to meet people and just want to be seen. So after doing that, getting involved with different activities on campus, I knew I just wanted to be in front of people and just make people happy, and just do things. Never really a clue what I wanted to do growing up. My parents were both in the medical field. My older brother is a surgeon in Oklahoma City. My sister's a pathologist in Houston. So I grew up in a family of doctors, and I was kind of the black sheep of the family. I maybe got in trouble a few times in high school, maybe got suspended a little, maybe went to detention a few times. So I had fun, but I knew that I needed to settle down and concentrate on my studies and get into college. And so it was a good learning experience being the youngest of the family. So once we got to OU, just got a lot of involvement, a lot of activities, met a lot of people on campus. And then I decided I didn't want to be a doctor. When I first went to OU, I was psychology pre-med. That's all I grew up around, but I knew that wasn't for me. After Chem 1, kind of kicked my butt. And then Chem 2, I ended up dropping Chem 2 after a few weeks, and I was like, hey, I'm not fit out to be a doctor. So I decided to change course loads, took a public speaking class my freshman year, second semester, and that was my favorite class of the whole year. All we did was say speeches and talk in front of people, and I loved it. I loved being out in front of people and talking, so I was like, hey, I'm going to switch to communication as my major. I enjoy it, and then I think I'll go to law school. I was like, what's the best thing other than going to medical school is to go to law school. So I wanted to make my parents happy. Typical Asian household, want to strive to be the best, so no medical school, I'll go to law school. So after graduation, I actually got into law school at OU, but the summer before law school, I worked at a snow cone stand on Lindsay Street here in Norman called Eskimo Sno. It had been there one summer, and I was like, I want a fun summer job before the grind of law school and not real responsibilities, just something fun before I get into my career law. And so I worked there, and I loved it. I loved seeing all the students in Norman, college students, families. Back then, we only had one Eskimo Sno so far, and so it was just packed every night. We got to meet everybody. If you grew up in Norman, that was the hangout back in the day. The Homeland parking lot was the hangout for all the high school kids. If you grew up in small town Oklahoma, that's what you did. You drove around and you hung out in parking lots, and that was just like that. It reminded me of being back home in Wowoka, working there. And then the summer went through and it ended, and I went to law school. Didn't quite enjoy it as much as I thought. There's a lot of reading, but definitely if you want to be in the law and help people, students and out there, like definitely, I learned a lot being in law school, but I just knew it wasn't for me. And then luckily the guy that started Eskimo Sno, his name is Rusty. He actually has Rusty's Custard Factory here in Norman. He offered, is like, hey, we're going to open up some custard stores. If it goes well, then we'll sell you Eskimo Sno. And that just ring something in my head. And I was like, hey, maybe that's an option I could do. So did a full year of law school, and then after finals of my first semester or second semester, I decided like, hey, this isn't for me. So I said, hey, Rusty, like, hey, I'm interested in buying the snow cone business. So I worked for him again for a couple summers. And then finally in 2002, it happened, and he sold me Eskimo Sno. So I had my own snow cone stand, and I quit law school. And my ultimate dream back when I first bought it was the snow cone season in Oklahoma only goes through April through September. So you're really working hard through March through maybe October, getting the stands ready, making flavors, working every day. And I worked it every day. I maybe had a few people that helped me out here and there, but I was working open to close. I'd wake up at 8 a.m. and make supplies and make syrups, and then work the snow cone stand from 12 p.m. to 11 p.m., pass out, and do it again the next day. Wow. And that was what I did the whole first summer. And my goal was, hey, I'm going to work hard for 6 months out of the year in Oklahoma, and then maybe move out to California in the fall and winter, and chase my dream of maybe being on TV or doing something like that. So that was one of my original goals. Like, hey, I can work here, I can make enough in 6-7 months that I could do whatever I want the rest of the year. So after that first summer, I actually did do that. I traveled one summer when my friends just graduated. We traveled up the East Coast, kind of just did a big road trip. Then when I got back to Norman, getting ready for the next summer of snow cones, I actually met my wife Jennii. And so we met that summer, and she really helped out with everything in my life. She gave me more direction. She told me that, hey, at the snow cone business, maybe you shouldn't spend 5 minutes talking to every customer. And so she really like streamlined the business, made us go a little faster, and actually made it more of a business. For me, it was just fun. It was never work. It was just meeting everybody in the community and talking to them and getting to know faces, just having a good time. And so we ended up buying another snow cone stand. From there, we ended up opening up an indoor store for Eskimo Sno with a drive-through. Next year, we bought a snow cone trailer. We got a snow cone van, opened up another store, eventually opened up another stand, put another stand in Oklahoma City. So from 2004 to now, we try to open up something new almost every year. And then during this whole time, my love for music and passion and entertaining, because I wasn't going to go out to California anymore. I knew I was going to stay here. I knew I had a future with Jennii, wanted to get married, have a family. So that really changed a lot of what I wanted to do early on. So we ended up staying here, and then I ended up saying, hey, I used to DJ back in college just for fun. So I ended up DJing more. My wife said, hey, how about you DJ more in the wintertime so we can make a little more money, because no one's buying snow cones in the wintertime. So I started to put out business cards at all my snow cone stands, and that people would just grab them, and then we'd volunteer to DJ different events in Norman at the university. And since I was so involved when I was in college, 10 years later, a lot of the students that I was involved with on events like Campus Activities Council, Dance Marathons, now Soonerthon, just different events on campus, they were now working on campus. So a lot of connections I made there helped me get more opportunities to DJ more. And so by the mid-2000s, end of 2000s, we had multiple DJs. We were DJing multiple events every weekend, and that became my focus, was the DJ company. So going out to schools, doing jogathons, City of Norman Parks and Rec events. I used to coach high school girls volleyball back in the day, so that got me a tie-in with University of Oklahoma Athletics. I ended up being the OU volleyball announcer for I think 12 or 13 seasons. From there, I used to announce at basketball games. Currently, I'm the OU women's gymnastics PA announcer. So a lot of opportunities just for meeting people and just doing things I love to do. So fast forward to now, we've been open at Eskimo Sno for 21 summers. I've been DJing for more than 20 years. We have 2 wonderful, beautiful children. They're 3 and 7. So now our focus is wanting to be more with our kids. We did open up a new business in Norman called Beanstalk Coffee and Snow. It's a combination of coffee and our snow cones. And it's actually a little upgrade of snow cones from Eskimo Sno. It's on the northwest side of Norman. So we decided, like, hey, let's change it up after 20 years. And then now that the world is how it is, and the coronavirus hit. We've had to kind of change things how we do it. The DJ production company isn't there as much. Not many events, not many gatherings of people, but I've had a lot of time to spend with my family, with my kids, and it's given me more perspective that, hey, like maybe it is a good time to kind of transition. Like I want to hang out more with my family instead of the grind of working every Friday, Saturday night, always being home or being away till 2 or 3 in the morning DJing. So for us, we're in a good place. We get to see our family more. We still do 1 or 2 events a week still. Things are starting to come back up. But we're looking at kind of bringing that part of the business down and focusing more on the coffee business. And so yeah.
Well, we may have a student right now that is listening or watching this and thinking, hey, could I buy that business by chance? Maybe we'll get into that in just a minute. There's a lot to unpack here. And so just a 2-part question for you. If I was listening to this podcast or if I was watching the live stream, I would be raising my hand as you were sharing the beginning of your story, and I'd be like, that's me, that's me, that's me. I'm not the only one out there that may not necessarily know what my dream is, what my future is, getting into some trouble. I'm not going to share now what that trouble was. My daughter might be watching or listening to this, or one of my kiddos. But, you didn't take a traditional career pathway, and even just hearing about your brother and your sister and what they're doing. So I'm just curious, because I experienced a few interesting moments just with my family when I shared about a shift and a change that I was going to be making with my career. So 2-part question. I'm really curious. How did your family just respond and take it? Were they supportive? Is there any challenge there? Then the second part of the question is someone that's thinking, I want to perhaps maybe buy Adrian's business, or I want to start my own ice cream store. Tell us, what does it take to do it?
So my family, they've been supportive since I am the youngest, and it is hard to become a doctor. They saw that, hey, like maybe him not wanting to be a doctor is what he wants, and my parents were very supportive. When I told them I was going to law school, they were very excited. Proud son going to law school. But when I told them I was quitting, they were. I'm
picturing the record scratch.
Yeah.
Right.
They were a little concerned, but I told them like, hey, I'm gonna buy the snow cone stand I worked at the summer before, and they knew it was busy. So I talked to them about that, and so they were like so supportive that they actually helped me get a business loan. So my dad, we went back to our hometown of Awoka, because we still had a lot of friends and connections there. Went to our hometown bank of Awoka, First National Bank. He helped me get a business loan there so that we could buy the business. So they were very supportive. They know the grind of being a doctor and the many years of school and all that, and law school. They're like, hey, like, we want you to be happy. So they're supportive with that, and they've helped us along the way the entire time since they lived in Norman. I moved back home so I could save money while we built up the businesses. So nothing. Yeah. So very, very supportive.
So Thanksgiving dinners are still okay,
yeah,
right? Peace around the table.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone passes the cranberries.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I know my parents are proud. My dad posts on Facebook a lot of our businesses and what we do, so
that's special.
So everything's good.
That's awesome. Because when I hear your story, it feels like it's so full of courage to take steps that aren't the traditional way or the expected way. And so that's super cool. In fact, you started a business, the Beanstalk, I mean, like right before the pandemic hit. So can you share with us, like, what have been the most like challenging moments of starting a business and then also scaling them?
Definitely. So we decided to start a new business last year. We saw a great opportunity on the northwest side of Norman. A shopping center had a drive-through. We've always wanted a drive-through on the west side of Norman. We thought we were done starting new businesses and focusing more on family, but when we saw this opportunity last year, we was like, hey, that'd be a great spot to put something. The spot was huge. It was 2,000 square feet, almost triple the size of any of our other locations. So we're like, hey, we can't sustain a business just selling snow cones. We have to do something more. So my wife's like, hey, let's do coffee. We knew nothing about coffee. We're not coffee drinkers, but we decided to really research it. So we took a whole year just researching it. We found a great place in Texas called Texas Coffee School that teaches you everything to be a barista, business management, latte art, So she took a 3-day class. I went down there and then took a 2-day barista class. So we really learned everything from that. And then we designed our store, got some help with the name and logos from a past employee that worked at Eskimo Sno when he was in high school almost 18 years ago. He has his own snow cone business in Georgia. So he really wanted to help us out, designed our logo, did it all for us, kindness of his heart. And then we decided, hey, he's like, hey, you should call it Beanstalk Coffee Snow. I'll make you guys a logo. We'll do it a family-friendly theme. And then we just ran with it. And then our goal to open was always spring break of this year. And then early March, Corona hit. So we had to kind of stop where we're at, think about everything. Our employees, we all hired the 1st of March. We told them, like, hey, we're not going to bring you guys in yet. We want to keep everybody safe. So it was actually a blessing for us because we knew nothing about opening a coffee shop. So we got to open it up. We had a drive-through, luckily. So we opened it up, and we just kept our drive-through open, and it was just my wife, me, and her sister. And we were the 3 employees. So we got to work it for that first month with just us. We brought in one of my main DJs, Hunter. He's done some stuff at Loveworks. We weren't doing DJ events during that time, so we wanted to help him out. So we brought him in and taught him to make coffee and snow cones. And so he helped us out. And then one of my wife's best friends, she started helping us out. So we had a good crew of just 5 running a store. Never been open before, but it helped us learn the business, meet our customers. And my wife was there every morning, 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m., open and close. And I would help in the afternoons. I'd Zoom in the morning for my kids' school and then help in the afternoons. So I got to be with my kids a lot. But just the opportunity just to start from scratch. And luckily with Corona, maybe a few other coffee shops in the area might have been closed down.
Not mentioning any names.
No, people weren't coming out as much, but we were in such a great residential area. Kids would walk with their families. And parents would bike over because it was so close. Everybody's walking around. That's when I would see Michael running, and I'd be walking my kids every day. So it was good for the whole first month. It was just us. We kind of figured it out. And then once May 1st hit, things are opening up. We brought all our employees in, trained them. June 12th, opened up the inside. So everything was kind of a blessing for us how we opened. Kind of just worked out. Sometimes opening businesses, it's a lot of hard work and grit, and sometimes a lot of luck helps too. So we got a good following just from everything else being closed and people not having anything to do. And now it's going quite well for opening a business in the pandemic. Probably one of the only businesses you've seen open up in a pandemic for us. So.
Well done, and we're going to have you give a plug in just a few minutes just about that, so hopefully we can fill up that drive-through line as much as possible today. You also, I don't know if it's you, Jennii, or Hunter, but spent some time on social media because shortly after you opened, my wife was looking for a drink, and so she posted on a Facebook event page a drink that she wanted, and you or someone that has your handle responded not only with where she could buy the drink, which is Beanstalk, but pictures of the ingredients. And so it kind of leads into this next question. Just curious about your culture and things that you're looking for, because we may have listeners and watchers that are thinking, I don't feel called right now, gut level, to start or open a business, but I'd like to work for you. And so I'm really curious. You mentioned your team. What are the things? Can you talk a little bit about your culture, and with team members, what are you looking for? What kind of attributes?
When we hire people. I always like, I say the 2 C's, that they have to be competent. So a good worker, make good decisions, being very competent, doing the right decision when things happen, and also consistency. So I want our staff to be consistent, always be able to come to work, always making the same product. I need all of our staff, like we have so many locations, different businesses. If one person comes to one Eskimo Sno in Oklahoma City, we want them to get the same product if they're coming to our original Lindsay stand here in Norman. So all of our staff needs to be competent and consistent, making the same product, doing it the same as everybody else, same happy attitude, and then just making right decisions and doing what's right. So those are 2 things I look for. And then just people want to have fun and meet people. My passion for everything we've done is just to meet people, put a smile on everybody's face. So you got to want to enjoy talking to people. You got to enjoy wanting to brighten someone's day with a snow cone or a cup of coffee or playing some music. So those are the things we look for, is just happy, fun people, and people wanting to show good work ethic. For us, our staff has always been high school and college aged. We don't have very many like full-time or lots of older adults that work for us, because we're kind of seasonal with the snow cones. So we've always been like summer jobs. Probably half our staff has been first-year summer jobs here in Norman. So we really reach out to high school students and college-age students to come work for us. So that's one thing. My wife joked one time that our work staff is probably one of the most unreliable kind of staff you have, because with high school and college students, their schedules are crazy, and sports and activities and things change. So that's one thing, just working with young people. We love to work with young people. We want them, when they first work for us, to really know what it's like to have a first job, and jobs are hard, and putting them through the tests of letting us know their schedule and letting us know this is the things you do, these things you don't. So with our Beanstalk now, we do have a few older people, because we are open up at 6:30 in the morning. So we do need some older people, adults, that can want to get up early and work.
I'm curious about what he's thinking as old. Please don't mention an age.
Well, I'm considered old. I'm 40. I turned 42 this year, so we have more adults. So later 20s. So people that have already graduated college, people that are doing this full time for us. So that's the one thing that's different for us, is having people that work for us full time. And so. But yeah, we just want fun, energetic people with good work ethic, and want to make people smile every day.
Well, so want to move into this next question, and you've shared with us some dreams that you've had. Are you working on any other big dreams?
My big dreams are wanting to help with the dreams of my kids. So. We're wanting to slow down a little on the Nexus DJ side. We're at home more. We'd love to be more at home. So that's also with the coronavirus and everything going on in the world. It's helped me be at home more. My wife, on the other hand, she's been grinding, and she's always at the coffee shop. So she's like, hey, you take care of the kids, you Zoom with them. So since this is my first time since I've had kids to really be with them more, it's really shown me like, hey, like, that's what I want to do more. So I want to slow down a little with a lot of stuff. Just use more help. I still have DJs that want to DJ and people that want to do events, but just be more at home. And our other dream is to build a Beanstalk business. It's a more viable business that's able to sustain itself year round. So we are going to open up another Beanstalk on the east side of Norman. One of our Eskimo Snows there. We're going to turn that into a Beanstalk. We have a drive-through over there. We took over the spot right next to us. Used to be a donut shop, so we'll have a 2,000 square foot place to have a drive-through, indoor seating, coffee shop on the northeast side of Norman. So that we're hopefully gonna start that this fall.
We should do like 31 fist bumps.
Michael and I are very excited about that.
And then some of our Eskimo Sno locations, we're kind of undecided what we're gonna do with some locations. We have a stand in Oklahoma City that we've had since 2013. We're actively letting people know, like, hey, that's an opportunity for someone to purchase or take it over. So we have talked with a few couples about selling that part, and concentrating more on the coffee business.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And it's why we wanted you to sit in the seat that you're sitting in, because we can talk about the successes. And I think when we're younger, there is a focus on that. How can we be successful and how can we make a lot of money? But I love the fact that you have woven in almost every question something about your family and your kiddos. And we never lose sight of that. The most important part, right, of our livelihood right now is our legacies. And it's our kiddos. And I really, really admire that, Adrian. The next question is going to join you with a host of other company of a question that we've asked each of our guests. And if you had the opportunity to time travel back to your middle school or high school self and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that advice be?
If I could go back then, one of my biggest regrets growing up is I was a Boy Scout growing up, and if you've been in Boy Scouts, you know Eagle Scout is the ultimate goal of being a Boy Scout. My brother was an Eagle Scout, but I never finished. I got to Life Scout right before Eagle. I never finished my service project because I just got busy with activities and sports, and that's probably one thing I could go back. I was like, hey, you should finish out. You should finish out to get your Eagle Scout. So that was one thing that I regret about not finishing something that I started. And the other thing is to play high school basketball. That was the one thing I wish I could go back and go, hey, even though you're only 5'4", 120 pounds, you should try out for basketball. I got to play high school football. I was one of the smaller guys, but going to a small school, I actually got to play. I worked hard. That was one reason I told my parents, like, don't move to Norman until I graduate high school, because I don't think I could even get on the football field at a 6A school. But at a 2A school, I got to play little. But my high school basketball team won state 2 years in a row. All my friends played. They all got state rings. And I always wanted to try out, but I was always scared. But we always played driveway basketball in the off season of football, and we loved it. But that's one thing I wish I could go back and play basketball. Even if I rode the end of the benches, I probably would have. Like, I wish I would just took a chance and did that. And so yeah, just missed opportunities for things that I wish I would have did back in the day.
That's powerful. I'm shaking my head and I'm thinking you're taking me back to a few things that I was involved in just growing up as a kid. And I would say that would be one of my regrets, would be making early commitments and perhaps having a bad day or a bad practice or a tryout. And I gave up on some things. And then who knows what I could have learned, in that process if I would have not given up. Well, Adrian, in this last part of our interview, we call it Link Up with LoveWorks. And so this is just a chance for you. We give you 60 seconds. I know you're familiar with time and stopwatches and clocks, but we want to give you 60 seconds to share whatever's on your heart to encourage our big dreamers. Are you ready for it? Set and go.
So for all you dreamers out there that want to chase your goals, one word that I like to always make sure people think about is sacrifice. So we've been working hard for the last 21 summers. I've missed a lot of things in my life, like vacations and hanging out with friends and family, but we're at the point where we don't want to sacrifice being with our kids. So we're working all the time. My wife is the hardest work I've ever met. And we miss out on a lot of things that other families don't. We're working on the weekends. We're working on holidays. So that's something that you got to think about. Like, if you got to chase your dreams, think about the sacrifices you're going to make. Like, we're blessed. Like, we're able to support our family. We have a nice house we live in. But I wish that everybody could know the sacrifices that we've done to get where we are.
Right.
That was pretty good.
That was good.
Yeah. Good timing.
Good work. You know your 60 seconds.
Well, I love that, Adrian. Thank you for sharing that. Like, when we say yes to one thing, we also say no to something else, and that when we go after our dreams, it will require sacrifices, but it'll be so worth it in the end. And just keeping your values right ahead of you. That family is not one of those things that you want to sacrifice. So thank you for sharing that, and I hope our students hear that out there. Like, it's hard work, but you got to hit the grind.
Well, we would love, if you don't mind, to get to a couple of questions. And so that could come from our live stream, or that may come from a few of our young dreamers and doers that have questions. As you're thinking of those questions, and we're giving Adrian just a moment to rest, we want to encourage you to mark your calendars for next week. Next week, we're going to be sitting down with a special friend of ours, and his name is Pat Fitzgerald. And Pat has been traveling literally around the world, and a couple companies that he's worked with you might be familiar with are Apple Company in Silicon Valley and Disney World Studios in Orlando. And so he's been from coast to coast, but he moved back here to Oklahoma, where he's from, to get involved with a cycle bar and to help to just really jumpstart a fitness movement here in Norman, Oklahoma City, and beyond. So mark your calendars for next Monday at 9 a.m. as we sit down with Pat Fitzgerald. And with that, Carolyn, are you ready for some Q&A?
I'm ready for some Q&A. We got a question in from our virtual students listening here. It says, as a middle school / high schooler, what did you have to do differently than your friends to accomplish your goals? And do you have any tips?
The one thing in high school, even though I mentioned that I might have gotten in trouble and was a little mischievous, I was always on top of my studies. I always made good grades. I was salutatorian of my senior class, got into college. So even though I like to have fun and kind of be a little crazier than most, I always focused on school and made sure that I was doing that. I always stayed involved, even though I might have went to a few parties and got in trouble. I grew out of that. And so always keep focused on the important things, on the things that your parents want you to do, things in the community. Have fun, but in the end, like the ones that get their studies done and go to college. And even though some things in college might have not helped me what I do now, just the opportunities and networking and being in college and being around other young people and getting involved, that's helped us tremendously. So keep focused on things that you need to do, what you've always heard growing up. Make good grades, get involved, be a good person. So I always kept those intact, and I always did what my parents told me to do, even though I got in trouble a lot. And my faith, we grew up, we're a Catholic family, so that was always one thing that I always focused on was my faith in God. So that kind of helped me along. So if I was in a bad situation, I always thought like, hey, is this the right thing to do? And then that helped me throughout college. So stay in school and don't get in too much trouble.
To sum it up, I love it. We have any questions out here in our audience? Mason.
So we've talked about your your 3 companies that you started. I imagine along the way there's been a couple of ideas or opportunities that you turned down. How can you tell the difference between a good idea and something you want to pursue and one that you let go?
So Mason asks, in starting businesses and picking which ones to continue with, which ones to pause with, and other opportunities, how do you pick the right ones?
That's a hard question. We've had a lot of missed opportunities. We've had people that wanted us to maybe do this event, or one thing that sticks out is we built a snow cone stand back in the mid-2000s when we were trying to expand. We was like, hey, let's build another stand. We had a family friend who was a carpenter, built it for us, built it in my dad's driveway, built the whole thing. We moved it out to a spot in Norman. Whenever the city came to inspect it, they realized that all of our wiring was wrong because our guy that built it used the wrong cable. He used residential wiring and not commercial wiring. And that was a big mistake we did, not getting somebody that's built commercial buildings. So we had built a snow cone stand, spent thousands of dollars on it, and it ended up being worthless. So we never opened up that location. We ended up just giving that stand away because we couldn't use it. I was like, hey, if you want to try to retrofit it and take all the walls down and redo it, go for it. So that was one opportunity that we completely failed on and wasted a lot of money on. But the place we wanted to put it was in the northeast side of Norman. And then literally a block away, we saw our first indoor store that went up for lease. Used to be an old dry cleaners. And so we're like, hey, look at that place. Like, that's right over there. Let's take a look at that. So we ended up walking over there, and we loved the spot. And it was really small, so we could do what we wanted. Not a lot of overhead. And we ended up building our first store. So one missed opportunity, one failure kind of opened the doors for another. So that's one thing that I always tell people about. Is like, hey, like, make sure when you're building something, you build it up to code.
Absolutely. Well, Adrian, as we wrap things up, anyone that would like to get a hold of you, find one of your businesses, learn more about one of your businesses, could you give a plug and a shout out?
Yeah. We're on social media. If you guys are wanting to ever work for us, we are always needing people that can work. Eskimo Sno, EskimoSno.com. Our new shop is Beanstalk Coffee Sno. You can find us at beanstalkcoffeesno.com. We use all the same social media handles at Beanstalk Coffee Sno, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Same thing with Eskimo Sno at Eskimo Sno. And then for our production DJ company, our website is nexusproductionsinc.com. But all of our social media is at Norman OK DJ, because Norman is our home and we're a DJ company. So at Norman OK DJ, it's a great way to find us. And just Googling us, Google my name, stuff will pop up. My cell phone is out there. You can give me a call.
Cell phone, website, the smile, and the hair, all the above. We'll be posting the links as well. And who knows, maybe there's somebody out there in California that's watching this and says, you know, we need a Beanstalk coffee company out there, and you may have that West Coast dream fulfilled. Adrian, really appreciate you. Thank you for saying yes to us. By saying yes to us, you're saying no to something else. I know a little bit about what your schedule looks like a little bit later this morning into the afternoon. Thank you for making me better and us better. We're better for it.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you, guys.
We want to just remind everybody about a couple things we talked about earlier on in the live stream. If you're interested in checking out one of the businesses we discussed, whether it's Real Kitchen, Wrist World, or learning more about LoveWorks, you can find us at loveworksleadership.org. And always remember that real leaders, they don't blend in, but they stand out.
Dream big.
And do your dream.